Hey, Rick Sayes here. Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Biz podcast, where I hope to provide entertaining conversations with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz to get their stories, tips, strategies, productivity tricks, and ideas that you can apply and take your career or business to the next level. This episode is brought to you by Rumple. I use my Rumple blanket on chilly photo shoot mornings making coffee. I love it. My Rumple blanket takes the chill off while I'm waiting for the water to boil. It also keeps me toasty stargazing at night. Get 15% off your Rumple blanket with code OutdoorBizPod at rumple.com. That's OUTDOORBIZPOD for 15% off your next Rumple blanket at RUMPL.com. Hey guys, this episode is with Mountainsmith President Jay Getzel. Jay has been with Mountainsmith for over 8 years and stints before that at Camp USA, Timberland, and Kelty. He has an impressive career, and we talk about how he's networked his way up the career ladder, how the team at Mountainsmith has delivered consistent success at one of the smaller, venerable gear brands, and plenty more. Enjoy. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Rick. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Great to chat with you. How's it going in Colorado there? A nice sunny day there? You guys having warm weather or cold weather? I haven't seen it.
It is a gorgeous sunny day in Colorado, but I will tell you that we could certainly use some precipitation. We've had too long of a stretch of 55 and sunny down here in the Front Range, which is great for running and riding your bike, but not great for coverage in the high country right now.
Right. We're the same here in Bishop. We got an early dose. Mammoth is open, but since then it's been dry, and I think it's projected to be dry for a while. So.
Yeah, I think we've got about, maybe 25 to 30% of the terrain open at most of our mountains, and I have yet to head up because it's this time of year that we like to refer to those runs as the white strips of death.
That's right. The slide for life, that's what we call it.
there's just not enough terrain open to spread out the masses.
That's
so,
right.
I might hit outdoor with the kids or do something chill like that, but as far
Nice.
as, running up to try to make turns with my buddies, that's a few weeks away.
I agree. So I was perusing your LinkedIn profile, and you've kind of grown up in the outdoor industry. What was your first exposure to the outdoors?
So my first exposure in the outdoors, dates back to growing up on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from New Jersey, and my dad was always a huge proponent of taking my brother and I out for adventures, dating back to being, little kids, single-digit age, heading into scouts and stuff like that. I'd say, probably my earliest memories of outdoor trips were a split between camping up in the Poconos, which was an annual excursion for my dad, my brother, and I. And then also with the Scouts, they turned us on to an area down in South Jersey a lot of folks refer to as the Pine Barrens.
Huh.
If you're familiar with Jersey at all, it's a place
Not
where
at
the
all.
Jersey Devil lives.
Okay.
So the Jersey Devil, the kind of mythical creature that the hockey team's named after,
Oh, I
he
didn't
apparently
know that.
lives down in the Yeah. He
Interesting.
apparently lives down in the Pine Barrens, and it's this really cool interconnected network of cedar creeks. And there's a lot of outfitters down in the area down there that will put you in with a canoe and pick you up a day later.
Wow.
And it's a place where, families and scouts and folks that just want to go out and spend a little bit of river time, camping and paddling,
Sounds beautiful.
have this really great resource down there.
Nice. Sounds great. So you spent a lot of time down there. It was just traditional camping, outdoor camping. And was it canoeing or any rafting, whitewater?
Yeah, it was canoeing. I mean,
Canoeing.
they were very, very slow-moving creeks, so lots of, rope swings and jumping off bridges and,
Gotcha.
camping and making marshmallows by the riverside. But, a really cool, just kind of chill little network of streams down there. And, definitely not, any fast-moving water, very slow-moving water and just a kind of more of a cruise than anything, but a great exposure into the outdoors and being a little bit off the grid and that type of stuff. And
Relaxing.
And then I'd say, heading into the high school era, was pretty fortunate that my high school had a great outing club program and started to head off into, kind of more different locales. Some of my top trips at that time were rafting on the Gauley,
Nice.
hiking a section of the AT in North Jersey. And I think the one that really, locked it in for me that I needed to play in the mountains for the rest of my life was a trip up to hit a couple of ski areas in New England. And after doing Wildcat in New Hampshire, we walked across the street and hiked and skied Tuckermans.
Oh, wow.
And
Awesome.
for a bunch of 15-year-olds from New Jersey, that was pretty epic.
Yeah, I'll bet. That's great. So what was your first outdoor job?
First outdoor job was actually at Eastern Mountain Sports in Boulder.
Okay.
When EMS still had a handful of stores out here in Colorado, that I think eventually all went away in 2004, 2005. I actually moved here in '99 to Boulder,
Okay.
at the request or recommendation of an old college buddy that had been working for EMS out here for all those years. And gave me the chance to come out one winter season and get a job at EMS
Nice.
and climb and ski bum it for a little while. And I had every intention of returning to the East Coast and becoming Robin Williams and Dead Poets Society. I was
Oh, really?
To, coach JV soccer and teach English and work at some little private school.
Oh, wow.
And
So that got
1 year in
sidetracked.
Boulder of climbing and yeah, exactly. 1 year in Boulder of climbing and skiing and kind of getting to see what was available out here in Colorado, and also what career opportunities existed in the outdoor space.
Right.
I never looked back.
That's awesome. So yeah, you had some stints with Kelty and Timberland and Camp USA. And how did you wind up at Mountainsmith?
I think mostly through networking, honestly. Except for the I'm trying to think of if any of the jobs that I've had in the outdoor industry were formally posted. I'd say not. I think most of the opportunities, starting off with EMS, that was a recommendation, and then on to Kelty, Timberland, Smartwool, Camp, and ultimately Mountainsmith, all came through a network of friends and relationships I'd grown, kind of at the retail level in the Boulder area. And the Mountainsmith opportunity came about as a purchase of the company had happened by our existing parent group back in 2007, and they were restructuring the team here. And I'd been at Camp for about a year and a half, and looked at the opportunity to grow from Camp USA to Mountainsmith. Kind of this old storied organization that I actively sold Mountainsmith gear on the floor at EMS.
Oh wow, cool.
And kind of couldn't believe that the opportunity to step into a national sales manager role with them, was afforded to me, and jumped on board back in 2008, I think it was.
Awesome. Chris, you've been there ever since. Good job. Yeah, that's great.
I've been here ever since.
Yeah. And you guys have, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say that there was, a couple changes, organizationally above me with the former president and director of sales and marketing, and kind of with each of those changes was able to gain the confidence of our parent group that our, team here in Golden was well established and had a good trajectory, and they put their trust in us to grow up the organization with our existing team without going and hiring and filling those roles from outside.
Oh, good.
But instead giving us the opportunity to grow up and fill them, and I think we've turned in a pretty good result over the last 8 to 10 years here.
Yeah, you guys have done pretty well. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges facing a smaller brand like Mountainsmith these days. You guys are competing with some of the 800-pound gorillas that we all know and love. That's got to be you need to use some different tactics, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's definitely some 800-pound gorillas out there. I would say that it's interesting being an old brand. Mountainsmith will turn 40 in 2019.
Okay.
So as we prep for the 2018 season, it'll be our industry-facing communication of that anniversary forthcoming, and then 2019 will be telling the consumer about it. You and I chatted offline before this conversation about the rebrand that Mountainsmith went.
Yeah, beautiful job,
through.
by the way. I got to give you guys kudos.
Thanks.
You did a great job on that. Looks awesome.
And that's the thing, being a 40-year-old brand, we weren't looking to, necessarily go out into left field with a logo redesign or a brand redesign. I think it was more, a push internally and through conversations with our reps and retail peers and whatnot to understand that this brand resonates with a lot of people. That yellow and black anvil is something that exists in a lot of millennials' houses, but it happens to be in the back of their dad's closet, not in theirs.
Right.
And I think that's the unique challenge for Mountainsmith is that, my era of being in college, which was the mid to early 1990s, was certainly the Mountainsmith heyday.
Yeah.
It was the Tour and Day lumbar pack. It was the Frostfire and Telemark packs. It was the packs that were up on mountains in the backcountry, on the Appalachian Trail. And I think, what the really, interesting challenge for us is connecting the dots between the 40-ish-year-old guy who knew and loved us in the 90s, and how do we, then ingratiate his family, his kids, that next crop of, up-and-coming, outdoors person to align themselves with our brand, and doing it, with a budget that obviously doesn't compete with the 800-pound gorillas in the room. We're trying to do it at the grassroots level, attending events with our craft brew partners, working really hard on social media, having a good ambassador crew that provides us a ton of good content for Instagram and our blog and whatnot. And I think that's the way we're trying to do it.
Well, and I think it's helped you guys from my perspective. You haven't lost sight of what your strengths are, right? You focused on hard goods, and it sounds like you've maintained consistent growth in the hard goods category, right?
We have, without a doubt, I think that the size of the brand as we end 2017 will be nearly double of what it was back in 2008, 2009 when I came on board.
Congratulations.
Just shy of that double.
Yeah.
So, we have maintained a trajectory. And I think, one of the cool things about our organization is that we are privately held. Mm-hmm. And as I see the expectations and challenges that peers of mine in the industry confront, while having certain goals set out ahead of them mm-hmm. to grow their business at a pace beyond what the industry is growing at, is a really, interesting challenge.
Yeah.
There are simply not more places to sell outdoor gear. There are more people looking for outdoor gear, but I think that those people are shopping kind of in the fringes of our industry, not in the core of our industry.
Right.
And to try to maintain a consistent course and not go too far off with distribution decisions mm-hmm. or with product development decisions that are outside of the core has allowed us to maintain this slow, steady growth with a parent company that is supportive of that trajectory.
Slow and steady.
And that's been a really nice... Yeah, slow and steady wins the race. I mean, I think I joked previously about being the little engine that could, and that's certainly us.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of I forget who I was talking to the other day about this, but some of these folks get, I don't know if it's they get overzealous or they get overconfident, but they head off in some directions that kind of make you scratch your head, and then it creates challenges for everybody, in my opinion. But we'll
for sure, there are certainly not places that a brand like ours or a brand like some of our closest friends and competitors, whether that be a Deuter or a Kelty or an Osprey or what have you,
right.
None of those guys would have the capacity to have a board of directors say, hey, you guys need to go double the size of this thing in 5 years.
Right.
Unless you made some really questionable distribution or product development decisions, there's just not that many more places to sell.
Right.
And that's something that we've been able to keep the reins on and stay consistent with that slow, methodical growth, and that's been a great asset for our team.
Yeah, it's working for you. So do you have some other thoughts on the current state of retail? It seems like, as you mentioned, there's less places to sell. We know a lot of retailers going out of business. I was chatting with Malcolm Daly the other day on episode 49 about some of the cool things going on down there at Neptune's. So there's a lot of retailers that are doing some really amazing, great things, yet it seems like, every other day we read about another one that's gone out of business. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, one of the things about, the continuing challenges are, not only the shift to online and what some of those entities mm-hmm. are doing to the overall specialty business, but I also think that there's a, big component of what's happening with the direct import business.
Mm-hmm.
When you do a lot of shopping online these days, and specifically at the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room of Amazon,
right.
If you Google, if you pop into their search bar, best backpacking pack or best two-person backpacking tent or what have you, 3 to 5 years ago, all of the names that came up were names that we all knew and loved, and you could find on the aisles at the Outdoor Retailer show. More and more you do those searches, and it's no-named, factory direct knockoffs of brands we know and love that are being sold at, ridiculous discounts off of what the proposed MSRP is. And it's really flooded the marketplace for the new consumer with a tough job of trying to navigate, what is a true, long-term heritage brand that makes your durable gear that will support me into the future versus, what is what's a factory direct import. So I think, that's certainly a challenge for brands and retailers. From a retail standpoint, you mentioned Neptune, and I think, those guys, as well as a number of other good specialty dealers that we still have great partnerships around the country with, they do a good job of knowing that once you have a customer in your store,
mm-hmm.
the experience, the education, the resources you can provide them, whether that's a clinic series or a place to sit down and drink up a cup of coffee and read maps and plan a trip, or having that 22-year-old climbing bum that he knows where the best 5-7 in a 20-minute radius of the front door of the shop is. Those kinds of things. That's something that those specialty shops will never lose as their advantage over the web, and something they need to celebrate and grow. Trying to go head-to-head on price and shipping is not the answer. It's trying to make sure you win the loyalty of your consumer by
mm-hmm.
By the quality of your staff, by your assortment, by the resources you provide. It's that type of thing.
Yeah, it's going back to old school tactics, right? I mean, that's what we did back in the day when, both you and I, you worked at EMS, I worked at A16, and we just, over-deliver, over-service, and everybody on the shop floor knew everything about all the products. And I think that's the basic blocking and tackling that has somehow got away from us a bit. But we're getting back to it. It's great to see we're getting back to it. Yeah, that's good.
It is, and I certainly love the idea of some of these shops that are putting coffee shops in or beer taps, trying to develop this sense of community. I know like in North Boulder here, there's, certainly a big understanding that the road bike community stops at certain coffee shops on their way, like, in and out of town for their long rides. And I think that if gear shops can do a similar thing and create this melting pot, this planning place, this spot where folks want to come together and unfurl maps and drink a pint and talk about the adventure that they have upcoming, could really, really do a lot of good in gathering a community together and creating that repeat business and making it a place where folks want to hang out, not just shop.
Right, I agree. Let the tribe gather and talk about their stories, and you make new friends and you find out new places to go. That's a great suggestion.
Absolutely.
And tell us about some of the nonprofit work that you guys do, or you specifically.
Yeah, Mountain Smith has, over the course of the last 7 or 8 years since I've been here, tried to, better align ourselves with a handful of organizations that we consider to be our, core partner group. And I think, of those, you probably would name the American Alpine Club, the National Ski Patrol, the Colorado Mountain Club, Big City Mountaineers, the Continental Divide Trail Coalition. We're a little bit spoiled here in Golden, Colorado, that everyone I just named, most of them are actually in the same building about 2 miles as the crow flies from where we are.
I was going to say, you could probably walk over and have lunch with them.
We really could, actually. We're having some happy hour beverages at a cool little craft brewery, later on this week with one of those organizations. And it's just really cool. It's easy for us that some of the most, noteworthy and recognizable organizations that are doing good, either from an education or land management or youth exposure to the outdoors standpoint, all happen to call Colorado their home.
Right.
So there's no shortage of folks that you can partner with. And I think, from a Mountain Smith standpoint, our desire is to promote, public land management and certainly the preservation of those lands, because that's where we all play and where our gear will continue to be used in the future. Certainly the education and the reeling in of new users into our space.
Right.
And then I think as we look out to 2018, we certainly have an affinity for, seeing how public land protection and climate change go hand in hand, because a lot of the threats to public land are happening because of the fossil fuel industry.
Exactly.
And there's a link there between protecting climate and protecting public lands, because if you are able to secure those public lands, you also then protect them from being a place where fossil fuel extraction happens and we further, hurt the climate. So I see, those two kind of running in parallel, but often talked about separately. But I think the public lands and climate change conversation, are very married together in a way.
It's completely linked. Exactly. Completely linked. Yeah. And it's amazing, in spite of what's going on in the current administration, how it just is continuing to be a battle. I mean, it's shocking. And we could talk for hours on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, based on what has popped up on social in the last 12 to 18 hours, we could do an entire other call with a number of educated professionals in the outdoor space about the public lands fight. And clearly that's on everybody's tip of tongue right now.
Exactly. Yeah. What other outdoor activities do you participate in? Obviously, you hike and backpack. Sounds like.
Yeah, hiking and backpacking, certainly as the kids get older, I think backpacking with a family will become more of a reality in the next coming seasons here. I have a 6 and a 9-year-old.
Nice.
And hiking and camping has been a great, part of our life. And last year was the first year that all 4 of us, my wife and the 2 kids, rode the same ski lift and ran down the same runs together. So those guys are starting to grow up with their confidence and ability level on the mountain. Personally speaking, I love to trail run. I've got 2 dogs that, generally speaking, are underneath my feet on a day-to-day basis here at the office, and getting those guys outside for a lunchtime run is a big part of my day. I think a head clearing phase as well as exercise for them and for me. And I've been a long-time skier. I mean, I've skied ever since I grew up in New Jersey in the Poconos, and transitioned to be a telemarker out here in Colorado when I first moved to town. Apparently, I wasn't cool enough to ski with the guys at Eastern Mountain Sports unless I tellied instead of alpined.
Right.
So they forced me to switch over, and I don't know that I've locked it down since then, since 1999. So every year it seems like I lose one of my buddies that has decided that the thighs can't hang with all-day telly turns anymore.
Yeah. Did you do any backcountry?
Sooner or later I do, actually. I usually plan one big hut trip with a bunch of buddies every year, and then I'll sneak in a handful of backcountry ski days as well. I think the snowpack and Colorado is such that high altitude backcountry skiing tends to, for me with a family now, be a little bit more agreeable in the spring corn season.
There you go.
So you will usually plan a couple outings to bag a peak and ski off the top sometime in May and June. Get one big hut trip in per year, and sneak in a few other backcountry days. But most of the backcountry days that I'm doing are in very low angle terrain, more of a tour to get out and spin around with the dogs than to actually push my limits.
Nice, yeah, that's great. I know you guys have a lot of great backcountry like we do here outside of Bishop here. Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks either wanting to get into the outdoor biz or grow their career in the outdoor biz if they're currently working?
We mentioned it earlier when you asked me about the trajectory that I was on,
right,
growing up as a retail employee and ultimately, here 18, 19 years later, becoming the president of a company. And I think, I made mention of the fact that none of the jobs that I've found and grown into over the course of that time were ones that were necessarily posted on the Outdoor Industry Association website or on Snooze or SGB or what have you. They all came via word of mouth and networking. And I think that's the most important thing. I think that being in a sales and marketing role in the outdoor industry affords you the chance to meet folks at all different levels, whether that be at the brand level, at the sales representative level, or at the vendor or at the retail level.
And across and nationally as well, nationally and even globally sometimes. You're right.
Exactly. And I think having that network, especially on the sales rep side, means that you've got these folks that have tentacles spread out through all different brands across geographic regions, to your point, across international regions,
right.
And thereby affords you the chance that once you develop these strong relationships and folks know who you are, know what your skill set is, know that generally speaking, people like to work with people that they like to hang out with.
Yeah.
Mountain Smith has a little bit of a MO of who do we want to work with are the same people that we want to be sitting around the campfire making us some more and drinking a beer with at 10 o'clock at night.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the kind of person that you tend to gravitate towards when you're out after hours at the outdoor retailer show. And it's those people that if you build those deep relationships with, when an opportunity comes across their table they know that you'd be a good fit for, you're going to get a phone call.
Yeah, that's
and,
right.
and I think that's really, really important, is to be yourself and to make sure that those bonds that you create are lasting ones. I mean, some of the friends that I've made 17, 18 years ago in the outdoor industry are some of my best friends now.
Yeah.
And I know would have my back if an opportunity were to present itself that could, further my career or theirs. People tend to want to work together and help each other out. And I think that's the great thing about our space, is that we are very collaborative. There definitely seems to be a bit of a, insular nature to us, probably to a fault. I think a lot of folks in the outdoor industry tend to, look at people that haven't worked in the outdoor space and say, and I think I'm guilty of it too. You see a resume come across your desk, like, oh my God, that guy's not worked in the outdoor industry.
They've never worked in retail? Wait a minute.
Yeah, that girl's never worked retail. She can't possibly know what we do. And I think the outdoor industry has definitely opened up 18, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If you didn't have at least some outdoor industry experience in your resume, you immediately went into pile B.
Yeah,
I think that as our industry grows up and the interconnectedness of our digital world grows up, without a doubt, people are starting to realize that a marketing manager from another consumer goods industry can easily segue over to the outdoor space, or a salesperson can easily segue to the outdoor space. But I think that's really important, is that skill sets are transferable across industries, and that building a good network of people that you would trust to throw your resume on the top of a pile is certainly an asset to you as you try to grow your career.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. Yeah, and I think as we get more sophisticated too, and we look beyond the outdoor industry to look for people with different skill sets that maybe come from a similar brand of your size, but to a different consumer demographic is very valuable. I think you're right on that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And do you have any daily routines? Sounds like you run with your dog to keep your sanity. Do you meditate? Obviously, dog walking and dog running is a good one.
I think the dog, I wouldn't traditionally meditate, but without a doubt, the 45 minutes to an hour that I get a chance to do a lunchtime hike, a bike ride, or or a run with the pups is a time where you completely check out. You're not thinking about, what after school activity you're taking your kids to when you get home. You're not thinking about the blinking light on your cell phone, those types of things. So I certainly look forward to those opportunities. And I think as a team, you'll notice the Mountain Smith crew. There's only 7 of us here in Golden. We're a relatively small organization.
Small,
but I'm looking across the street right now out my window at North Table Mountain. There's a network of 5 to 7 to 9 miles of interconnected double track and single track over there. And I think all of us look forward to the opportunity to, sneak out and take a prototype backpack and put 30 pounds in it and go for an hour-long hike and come back and tell our designer whether or not the shoulder straps and hip belt are working correctly. It's those types of things that, we look forward to on a day-to-day basis, where you intermingle recreation, exercise, and head clearing with a little bit of the work side of, hey, I'm actually testing product while I'm out there at lunchtime today. So this is a pretty good opportunity.
That's right. That's the beauty of the outdoor business. We get to blend a lot of things together on our daily activities. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And do you have any favorite apps or technology you guys use on a daily basis, or you particularly?
I would say that, being a little bit older, in my mid 40s, I maybe haven't gravitated towards the app, world as much as some others. I mean, certainly from a LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter standpoint, those are part of my, daily routine to catch up on the news of my outdoor industry world, to catch up on, world news of my favorite sports teams, family members and that type of thing. I think that, LinkedIn, I have started to spend a lot more time on recently than probably Facebook. I find, on Instagram, you walk away inspired, you walk away happy. On LinkedIn, I walk away educated. I walk away learning something new that you've posted or another industry peer has posted about the ebbs and flows of the consumer marketplace, online versus brick and mortar retail. There's a ton of great information there that can educate us about, the things that we need to accomplish in our own careers. I find that more and more with, the specific, world that we live in today, that, oftentimes when you close the Facebook application, you're more aggravated than happy.
I was thinking about that just this morning. I was like, I think I'm going to take a little Facebook vacation for a while. I agree with you.
It's it's a great way to keep up with pictures of cousins and old high school buddies and their family and friends. But as far as it essentially feeding the things we already believe and angering us against the points of view that are different from ours, it doesn't do a great job of bringing people together unless you're talking about that family and friend connection. From a societal or political standpoint, it kind of only reinforces our views and thereby leaves you just unsettled after you spend a little session flipping around with your morning coffee. And I think I'd rather look at beautiful pictures on Instagram or read a great article about the Outdoor Industry Biz podcast on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Thanks. And you're a big reader. Do you have any favorite books, or do you give books as gifts?
It was interesting. I listened to Scott Oshman's interview with you not too long ago, and he had mentioned one called Contagious. That he passed along to a number of members of our team, and I then have subsequently re-gifted and recommended to a number of people as well.
Great.
I feel like that book has done a great job. I also feel like there's a series of books, one of them being Tribes, and I can't remember why I'm spacing on the author's name. Was
that Sebastian Younger?
No, I'd have to look it up.
Okay, I can look it up.
Seth Godin is who it is.
Oh, okay, got you. He's great. Yeah,
and he's got a series of books that speak about the like-mindedness of folks that gravitate in certain directions together, whether that be towards a brand or towards a movement or towards a community or what have you. I found that specific book and a number of the others that are in his repertoire are pretty educational too, in just kind of educating us about the way that we can make our brands and our causes and our lives, more fulfilling by bringing people together. And I thought that was a pretty interesting read.
He's really good. I read his blog every day. He's amazing. He's a prolific writer. I mean, he writes every day, and on his blog, and it's just sometimes it's things that's like, oh, okay, well that's interesting, but other times they're very insightful and make you go, go back and you think about it during your day. It's pretty inspirational. I love that. So what's your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100?
Favorite outdoor? Does it have to be Mountainsmith? I mean,
anything you like.
I'd be amiss if I didn't say it was a Mountainsmith piece. I mean, I think that
you get a lot of grief from your tribe, I'm sure.
I certainly would. I mean, you can't beat the Mountainsmith Tour or Day lumbar pack. They're both under $100.
Yeah,
they've been around for 38, 39 years. Yeah. Here we are about a year or two short of our 40th anniversary. I mean, they were the pieces that started our brand.
Right.
There was, lumbar packs didn't exist before those two pieces existed. And I'll say that as you see this pendulum swing back in the direction of fanny packs being cool again.
Yeah.
These are more than fanny packs. These
Yeah,
are
yeah.
school and office totes. They're adventure travel pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, when we had babies and my wife was using a very flowery diaper tote, I unloaded her thing and shoved it all inside of a Mountain Smith tour pack and had sippy cups and diapers and wipes and baby essentials inside of mine. I mean, it's the quintessential man purse.
Yeah, perfect.
So check out the Tour and Day Mountain Smith lumbar pack. They get redesigned, updated every couple of years. We've reinvested in Cordura textiles to make sure they are forged for life, as our tagline reads, and you'll have one for 20 years when you buy it.
Awesome.
And I'd say that's my best piece under $100.
Well, we'll put links to those in the show notes, as well as all the books that you talked about. This will be episode 058, so you can look for the show notes on the website there. Anything you want to say or ask of our audience before we go to wrap here?
I would hope that everyone is collectively around the country meditating towards their respective snow gods in their region. I would hope that our retail partners out there have a very, very stormy 2 weeks leading into their holiday crunch, because we certainly did not get it leading up to the Thanksgiving season.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the holidays with your family and friends. Make sure you sneak some days in outside. And I certainly thank you for inviting me onto the podcast and giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about myself and Mountain Smith.
Well, thanks. It's been great. And we would probably be remiss if we didn't mention that I'm going to moderate a panel at Outdoor Retailer, which you're going to be on. It's going to be yourself,
Absolutely.
Mark Sherman from the Gear Exchange, Colin Moynihan from Uncle Dan's Outfitters, and Scott Oshman. We're going to talk about some retail tactics that people can use to thrive in the age of Amazon. That'll be Saturday from 2:30 to 3:30 at the camp. So I look forward to sitting in and chatting with you more about retail. And
looking forward to it. We're looking forward to Outdoor Retailer being in our backyard.
Yeah,
as well.
That's going to be awesome for you guys, huh? That's great. Yeah, exciting for the move to Denver. And where can people find you? With the best email, Twitter, Instagram, all those?
Email is probably the best way.
Okay.
It's just my first name, Jay, J-A-Y, @mountainsmith.com is a great way to get a hold of me. Certainly willing and able to network and have any conversations about folks that have inquiries about my career or our brand or what have you.
Cool.
And I certainly think that the Mountain Smith Instagram, Facebook, and blog feed are a great way to just learn more about our brand, about the nonprofits we work with, the adventures our team and our ambassadors are involved in. Just some great resources to learn about the brand. And as we mentioned previously in the show, our website was just relaunched with a update to the brand. So certainly check out the new mountainsmith.com. It's a great new resource and very informative and beautiful as opposed to the
I love the imagery.
iteration.
Yeah, I love the imagery. It's awesome. Yeah, you guys did a good job. Well, we'll put links to all those in the show notes. Thanks, Jay. It's been great chatting with you. And
thanks so much, Rick. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
You do the same. All right, we'll see you.
Cheers.
Bye. All right, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jay Getzel. You can catch up with Jay at jay@mountainsmith.com and also check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and their website. They have a pretty cool blog. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episodes/058. Be sure and share your favorite episodes on the socials, and until next time, thank you so much for listening. This episode's featured advocacy group is Friends of the Inyo. Friends of the Inyo is a conservation nonprofit based here in the Eastern Sierra. Their mission is to ensure that public lands of the Eastern Sierra remain wild and free for future generations. Friends of the Inyo engages in policy activism while supporting meaningful and sustainable land management. On the ground, Friends of the Inyo places hands on the land through professional crews and volunteer activities in both the front country and the wilderness. Join Friends of the Inyo on an event or support effective public lands policy and management by becoming a member at www.friendsoftheinyo.org. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, or go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at The Outdoor Biz Podcast, Twitter at Rick_Saez, that's S-A-E-Z, and my email is rick@theoutdoorbizpodcast.com. Thanks for listening and all the support, and a huge shout out to all my guests, and until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.